A year ago, I fell 5 metres off this roof. I shattered my legs so badly it had to be amputated. I was a paramedic and I want to go back to work as a paramedic. It's not going to be easy.
So we're about 3 minutes out, so we'll get those pre-landings out of forward.
Twitter RPM.
100.
Talks. Clear to ground.
Tails clear.
Have you got the stall in your 12 there?
I got the stall.
Mains well clear. Who we got here?
Yeah, this guy, don't you?
Staff member?
Yeah. It's a patch of wet paint. He's come off the roof approximately 4.5 metres.
Roof to...
Straight to ground.
Hard ground?
Hard ground.
Yeah. What are you painting, Derek?
I was trying to paint the roof.
Oh, yeah? Oh, mate.
As soon as the impact, I felt a crushing sensation in my back, and I literally felt like someone had driven a spade through my spine. The crew that arrived first on the scene was manned by one of my mentors when I first joined the service.
He was face down and complaining of not being able to feel his legs and but excruciating pain.
Yeah.
So we go straight in a little bit. Yeah. Doesn't appear to compromise as far as circulation goes.
Yeah.
He does.
Just seeing them arrive, sort of knowing who they were, knowing how they worked, it really was a huge relief.
Yeah. Lower back. Yeah.
My back.
Derek?
Oh, my back hurts, man.
You've been happy with blood pressure and so on? Basics? All good? Okay.
He's one of ours. He's also a diving buddy of mine as well, so it does obviously create a little bit of extra stress for our guys when you're doing it, when it's somebody you know and you know really, really well. But at the end of the day, we've got a job to do and we just do the job that's required.
1, 2, 3.
Actually, where's my sunglasses? I can give them to him. Derek, have my sunglasses for now, mate.
Thank you.
I want them back though, okay?
Cheers, Barry.
All right, mate.
It's bad enough to break a leg, hitting the hard ground, and that force transfers up the backbone. There could well be a fractured vertebrae there.
Copy, thanks. We expect rescue 2.
I'm going to go crew guard there, Paul.
Ah, yes.
Everything slowed down. The whole your life flashing before your eyes thing can be quite true. I literally thought that this was it. I wasn't going to survive. Ended up with multiple fractures. Bone had come out through the skin in a number of places. And that's ultimately what led to the ongoing problems of infection and what they call osteomyelitis, which is an infection of the bone. It's extremely hard to treat and ultimately led to the amputation. I made a decision not long after the accident that I wasn't going to let this rob me of my career. I wasn't going to let it rob me of my life. After an accident like this, you can choose to accept it and work hard at reclaiming or getting back to what you had before. Or you can crawl into a hole and live the rest of your life in misery and sorrow. G'day. Let's go. Hey, Joe. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Today we had 3 visitors. Telepathy was there.
I've been a paramedic for 15 years. It's been full on. 3 kids, 2 dogs, and my wife, Kirsten's career as a midwife.
What else?
Between me and my wife, you need a spreadsheet for our timetables.
Hi Sarah, it's Kirsten Eady here, the midwife. How are you? Good, good. So you're seeing the obstetric consultant. It was huge because it took him out of the picture for pretty much a good 6 months. So it was kind of like being a single parent, really, as well as looking after him and getting him to his things and his mum has been really sick and she's been living with us too, and Derek did a lot of work with her. Being a paramedic, he was the one doing all her care and stuff here, so basically that made life a lot more difficult for us to juggle Sue's care, Derek's care, my kids' care, my work.
I was looking through some of the photos. It's amazing how much has changed in the last year since the accident.
It's amazing how graphic that is of the leg. Forget how intense that first couple of days was. Scary looking at them now, to think that's where it all started.
Not easy at all to sit here and go through these.
The leg wasn't the big major thing at the time, it was more about...
No, I'm more worried about my back still.
It's kind of hard to remember what normal is again, and so I guess getting back to... Maybe not normal's not the right word anymore, because it's never going to be that. We're always going to have, because even since you guys have been seeing Derek, he's had hospital admissions and things like that. So I think that's always going to be a little bit in the back of my mind with things. It's always a bit nerve-wracking, kind of thinking, I know he's good now, but there are still lots of stuff that can impact him for the future. So I guess for me it's about making the most of what we've got while he's good and doesn't have any further issues with his leg and things like that, and take the down times when he ends up back in hospital or anything like that as they come, I suppose.
I suppose the more time has gone on, the thing I've come to realise is I don't see myself as being disabled. When I put my leg on in the morning, I'm as able-bodied as the next person. But I have to prove that before I can get back to work. I need to pass a functional evaluation test, so the gym has been my office for 3 months. I've got no doubt, but I've still got to pass the test.
So how many socks are you up to now?
4 thin socks, or 2 of the thick ones.
Cool. And you're going back for casting?
19th of December is the next appointment.
Excellent. Great. Sit down.
Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Good. Just bring your hips forward as you come up. Nice. Snap those hips a little bit anteriorly as you come up. That's it. 3.
Well, this has been my daily grind for the last 3 months, 5 days a week. It's really all about getting the strength back to be able to manage doing my job. In my mind, I'm ready to go back to work. It's been a long process for me already. While it's only been 15 weeks since I had the amputation, it's been nearly a year since I had the accident. I've been working really hard over that whole time at maintaining a high degree of fitness to be able to continue on in the job.
So now we're going to do a little bit of steer work. You have no problems anyway, but the response kit's 20
odd kilos in a response kit.
Yep. Sweet.
15, 20 kilos.
One at a time. Good. Nice. Getting really good clearance on the spot too.
I have found a number of paramedics working and practicing in the United States as amputees, and have been in contact with them, you know, via Facebook, and we've had a few Skype calls, and that's been really, really good because it gives me something to work on and some sort of evidence to suggest that it is possible and can be done. You can feel the touch, you know, when you put your foot on the ground, but how far forward, how far back, it takes a lot of practice to get that right in your mind. There's a lot of stair work in the job, you know, accessing patients. We'll be carrying carrying our gear, carrying patients down, up and down stairs. So.
Absolutely. He needs to be able to not only carry the rescue kits and the monitors up and down stairs in people's homes, but he also has to be able to help carry people out on stretchers down and up and down stairs. But he could do half of the testing without his leg on. And he's just starting to run, so that's good. He might be faster than me one day.
I've been working so hard with my rehabilitation for so long that I really want it to come to an end. For me to be able to move on and reclaim my life and move into the next stage of returning to an operational role, the longer it takes, the least likely a good outcome would be. It is raising eyebrows. I often get comments of, you know, do you think maybe you should reconsider what you're doing, or, you know, maybe look at another role within the organisation. I suppose the thing that scares a lot of people is my disability going to put them at risk. I suppose the only thing I can really say to that is just that, you know, if I didn't feel comfortable doing a lifting task, or if, you know, if I felt, you know, I was faced in a situation that I couldn't do, I wouldn't push myself into that. I would stop. Today will be a functional evaluation test, which will look at what I'm able to do and look at areas of weakness.
Hi Derek, Liz Coombs,
Liz,
nice to meet you, physio
You too.
and quality rehab. So we're going to set up some equipment, and obviously today is about just assessing where you're at the moment. It's not a pass or a fail.
No.
It is about what needs to be potentially put in place, if anything does, for ongoing rehab and moving you forward.
Awesome.
Okay Derek, so we'll move on in and we'll set up what we can going to test for.
My whole working career has been around ambulance work and my paramedic role. Initially, it was very, very hard for me to accept that I would have to move into another field. You know, I love my job with an absolute passion. I couldn't really imagine me doing anything else. It's a lifetime career choice for me.
We've done a total of 11 tasks in that 3 hours. St John's has a specific regime that they use for getting somebody back up into full crew duties, and Derek's at a stage where, in my opinion, from the results of this testing, he has the ability to do that. Well done, Derek. Fantastic job. Wonderful outcome of your tests, and I'd say that you're looking at a graduated return.
Fantastic.
You did got excellent results.
Thank you so much, Liz.
All right, take
Okay,
care.
see
See
you
ya.
Quite relieved is probably the first emotion that I've experienced. Just having the test over and done with, and having been able to demonstrate that I am capable of performing those tasks.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's Derek Eady to see Pip McDonald.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll just let her know you're here.
ACC have given me all the backing I need to return to work.
Really?
My case manager has been one of my biggest supporters.
So how do you feel about the results of the functional test?
That went really well.
Yeah.
Really stoked with the results of that, and they're quite happy for me to move forward now and start getting back to triple crewing.
So what I'll get onto for you is I'll make the referral for the driving assessment and the occupational therapist to see what your actual return to work is going to look like. Make sure everyone's on the same page with that.
Fantastic.
Cool.
No, I'm really looking forward to it.
So how do you feel about getting back on the road within a week, hopefully?
That'd be great. That'd be really good.
We've thrown all sorts of assessments really at him to help him work through things. Like we've had pain assessments, we've had occupational therapists, we've had driving assessments, we've had psychologists working with him to help him deal with, initially it was to deal with the pain that he was having, and then it was to help support him through the amputation of his leg.
My job, for me, it's a lot about who I am. Helping other people is something that I've always done. It's been instilled in me from my mother, you know, putting others first and, you know, always being there to help somebody out who needs it.
Derek fits the mould of ambulance officers in general. They're a little bit of a breed apart in a way in the emergency services. They're very motivated and caring people, and certainly Derek has been very motivated to return to work. He's been involved with St John for some 12 years from memory and is very keen to come back on board. But ultimately this is a fairly standard vocational rehabilitation. It is just the parameters of the work environment in St John and emergency ambulance work that make it a bit more difficult for us to really grasp the risks associated with it and make sure we've covered off all those aspects.
It was just the unknown, and sometimes when we don't know how well somebody will cope with these injuries, we have to be mindful of safety for everybody. We've never faced anything like this before. Sort of learn as we go, and obviously there's been a bit more testing that we've done for Derek than we would for somebody else who was just rehabbing from a broken ankle or something like that. So we've had to be mindful of the safety of the public and the safety of Derek and his patients and the other people that he works with.
When I first started driving after I had the amputation with the prosthetic, the biggest thing to get used to was just it's a complete change in how you control the accelerator. Whereas before I used your foot a lot to feather the accelerator, now all that action is coming from my knee and thigh. The other sort of challenge is learning whereabouts your foot is in space so you can move it back and forth from the accelerator to the brake without it getting stuck or hitting it on the pedal. I suppose, you know, the idea of driving a large vehicle, you know, under emergency conditions, you know, it can be a bit to get your head around. It's just been a matter of practice, you know, just over time it's become second nature. So it doesn't feel any different than driving normally. I think because this hasn't shrunk here as much, so I'm getting because of the extra, I'm putting the extra socks on to compensate here. You can feel it's just a hard lump there now, but it's gone down a huge amount.
Yeah, and you're not getting the support around here because you've shrunk so much.
So since I had my first cast done, my stump is sinking into the socket too much. Which is giving me some issues with pain or uncomfortableness in my knee. So the plan today is to take a new cast of my stump and from that build a new leg. Because my stump is in much better shape now, we're able to move from a liner socket like I've got at the moment, which requires this large foam liner, to a much more active socket, which will essentially have a similar gel liner to this, so you get a much better fit.
You've shrunk quite a lot, but you are still actually bulbous.
The Artificial Limb Centre has become a very familiar place to me over the last 7 months. My latest prosthetic limb will have a flexible ankle, so I can pivot and rotate. Easier for me to lift and carry stretchers.
Room for those tendons, eh? Oh yeah, easily. Perfect. Now, that is perfect. And this certainly won't go back on again.
No.
We're going to take out this stocking. So I'll start by filling this with plaster. I'll then cut it off and create a model of your leg, and then I'll rectify that to what the socket's got to actually do, rather than just the shape of your leg.
Been a year since I've been in the back of an ambulance. I didn't sleep at all well the night before my first shift. I started the shift at 6 o'clock in the morning with everyone else, so I was worried about how well I was going to manage getting up and going through the process of getting ready. How long was it going to take me? And then there's it just plays on your mind. What are you going to encounter that day? Alright guys, I'm off.
Great. Have a good day.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
I'm pretty good. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to getting back.
You'll be awesome. You have a great day.
Bye, Joe. Oh, that's not going to work, is it?
I'll have to get on it.
No. See you later. Have a good day. Bye. It was like I'd never been away. It was better than I imagined. Crewing as a third man, working my way up to longer shifts. I had 3 good months. Just really started getting achy about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. The last few days, the pain's sort of intensified quite a bit. I have a neuroma, which is a collection of damaged nerve tissue and that are just matted and tangled. And the damaged nerves start growing like a small tumour. The last 2 days has been, the pain's just escalated to the point where I'm not coping with it anymore. And the pain relief that I had been on wasn't cutting it. Cheers.
So we just need to wait for the registrar to get out of theatre.
This is really, really gutting. Everything was going really, really well.
Can you rest at all?
It's been a downer of a week, really. You know, I was so close to being back at work. Still staying positive, but it's not been a nice week. Especially when the pain, intense pins and needles and scalding, burning sensation, like my leg was in a bucket of scalding hot water. My orthopaedic surgeon doesn't want to operate. He's not sure what is causing the problem. So, he could go in and open it up, but then he doesn't know what to do to fix it. He doesn't know what to cut away. It'd just be operating blind, and he's not prepared to do that at all. And I understand it. So when I had the escalation of pain, the only way to deal with that was to put a nerve block in. So I've got a catheter tube here, which sits on the sciatic nerve, and then I've just got a medication that's being infused. So it feels like a very dead leg. Incredible the difference a day makes. I went down to the operating theatre, and this time they injected a steroid directly into the neuroma. As soon as he had the needle in there, the muscle was twitching and vibrating, just went crazy. So it was quite obvious to him, that it was the right spot, it was the cause of the problem. And then within 5 to 10 minutes of the injection, all of the twitching that I'd had for the 10 days previously just stopped. Just absolutely just stopped. And along with it went the pain. It was just, the pain was gone. I went back up to my hospital ward after the injection, and I rang my wife. I was in tears, and just said, "Bring me my leg." I was so afraid that it was going to be what I had to get used to for the rest of my life, having to deal with this pain, because there was nothing there that they could fix. That would almost certainly mean I would probably be unlikely to carry on driving. I was staring down the barrel of losing my career again, and it was scary. It was really scary.
So you've got the new leg, Derek.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Oh, it's really great. This one's a real step up from the old one. Yep. It's a lot more unstable, a lot more movable in the ankle.
Yeah.
You've got the rotation in the foot, which is great. Makes it a little bit more difficult to walk on, but it so much more makes the job a lot easier. I haven't struggled too much with anything more than what I was expecting.
So you're back to the full 12 hours?
It's full 12 hours. So I've just done 2 blocks of full 12-hour shifts.
Yeah.
And the surgeon's happy for me to go back fully operational.
So
yeah,
just
so
normal double crew?
Normal double.
That's
back
really
to
exciting.
Fully operational.
It hasn't even been a year since you've had your leg taken off.
7 months since the amputation.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of work.
Morning, Liz. Morning, Derek. How are you, mate?
Oh, pretty good.
That's nice.
Oh, bloody good, mate.
He's done this job for 15 years. How many lives would he have saved in that time? He's now back, he's working in the ambulance that attended him, and it's nice for all of us to be on the other side of what we do and how important that our job is. I think we forget that impact that we have on our patients. So, yeah, it's great. It's nice to have him back. It's full circle, really.
Are you back? Oh, are you covering TAC first, or?
Every time something happens, good or bad at the moment, it does keep reminding me when we go back to that about how drastically life could have been a whole lot different than even what we've got now.
It's just nice to have a future and start making plans that around me being able-bodied and able to do most things.
Pukekohe Station, Pukekohe 1, under lights, Mill Road, Pukekohe, code 29.
I get told about how inspirational I am and how amazing what I've achieved is. And so many people tell me they don't think they could have done it. My answer to that is I've done nothing that anybody else couldn't achieve, given the same set of circumstances. There's nothing superhuman here. I've made it back to where I was before the accident. I'm a paramedic.